here we are at the crux, a crossroads, if you will. I find myself sitting in my room, familiar with my surroundings, yet at the same time, something seems alien to me.
Is it because none of us are there?
No, you're never here.
You remember?
Oh, right.
You remember when I would come over after school, and we would sit down and play NBA Jam together,
No?
and then also Sarpika?
Yes.
Did you say no to NBA Jam?
Of course I remember, John. I love NBA Jam. The yellow stick guy was my guy. The Vancouver Stickmen.
They were great.
Well, anyway, this is in the buff. There's 4 plus us, 5 people. 5 people here.
You're going strong. Stay with it. Keep the confidence up.
I'm your host, Chris. We got Cody, Kyle, John, and Scott here. That makes the 5. Like the Jackson 5.
We're all
that's
white.
not-
I call Michael.
Oh, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
I'm the youngest.
Oh. I call... Where do you have a bald?
I think
Yes.
the dad.
Huh?
I think the
Tito
father
was
be a
his name, I
dad?
think. Tito
Tito.
Jackson.
I don't know any of their names besides Michael.
Joe was the father.
Joe
I
Jack.
believe.
Tito was
Right.
the older
No.
brother, I guess.
Tito was the older brother who might have been bald.
I think I despise everybody named
Can
Joe.
I be the sister?
He was horribly abusive to his children, so
Yeah.
you're within
Never
the
mind.
rights to.
I
Absolutely.
I will be him.
It's
Absolutely
his fault
horrible.
Michael became...
Get your shit together.
Yeah, I won't.
That's
What are we talking about?
I don't know.
So do we want to do comments again today, or are we going to skip them again?
Why not? You know,
Jesus Christ, Kyle, when did you get here?
A while
I
ago.
just said that he was here.
I
Did you
don't
not pay
listen.
attention to me?
You
ever?
weren't confident.
It's hard to follow your intros. I've heard that note a lot of times on the people I cross on the street who like the podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You go outside?
Hey guys, important milestone. We have reached 1,900 subscribers.
Awesome.
And a couple of weeks ago, we passed 1 million views.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Great.
I wasn't
On a
clapping.
side note, my
A se-
OnlyFans has made $1.
Oh.
What do you put
What
on
kind
your
of fans are you
OnlyFans?
selling?
Little mini ones. They're $1 each.
Are they like the ones that go around your neck?
I have one of those.
No.
Did you sell to Kyle?
I forgot
Is he
to...
$1?
I forgot to order the lanyard part. So it's just the fan.
This is starting to feel like another 36 view rip roaring special time here.
It's definitely starting out that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit.
How about some comments? Liven things up. How about that?
Yeah.
We've got a comment on the most recent episode of the podcast, the last episode.
Is that
That
the
means
name of the
it's
episode?
No, it's not.
Oh.
From a friend of the channel, Monsi. She said, "Spooky, scary skeleton."
Right.
And shivers down your spine.
Because
I
we were
already
talking
got
about
them.
scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at this! A comment from longtime friend of the channel, Kyle.
Oh, that I did put
That's you.
something. I did put something.
He said, "I'm quite excited to see the final product of our Get Spookied collage."
You lied to us. Kyle, you said you
Poost.
didn't post
I forgot about that.
yeah.
Kyle, leave the group now
No.
for lying.
No.
We recently tried to do a little bit of a React style content
Right.
where
I'm coming for your ass fine, brothers.
Yep.
Scott made us watch some spooky videos. I don't know if we've gone into this in very much detail.
In the last podcast we
And
talked about it.
Yeah, the last podcast you guys talked about it quite a bit.
Did we?
Yeah.
But
you
now
guys-
we can actually talk about it because everybody's watching
Now
it.
we've all
Yeah.
seen the
Right.
videos.
Mhm.
And I would say, to start off the conversation, just watch the video we're going to make.
Yeah.
But
Indeed.
keep watching this podcast episode, and then like and comment, and then go watch that video
Maybe
once it's
subscribe
edited.
too.
You
Yeah.
can do that. You know, no pressure.
Turn on the notifications.
Become an evangelical for our channel. Share it with your friends. Tell everybody the good word of Double Buff.
Okay.
This is incredible.
Oh, here's a good comment actually. something that we might be able to
Get fucked, Kyle.
talk about.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
On Final Fantasy X Arin Celestial Weapon Guide Masamune video from
Masamune?
Alu Baldini,
Ah.
he said, I checked the statue, but nothing.
Fix it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he probably doesn't have the Celestial Mirror.
Probably not. Probably not. Or he might have just accidentally already collected the rusty sword and just moved on with his life.
I've done that before in a Pokemon game.
The rest of these comments are not very compelling.
I agree.
So why don't we don't have to do all the comments all
Yeah.
the time.
All right.
That's for our Patreon.
That we're not going to make additional content for.
Yes. But we will read their comments.
Honestly,
We are still thinking about making a Patreon.
What would the additional content be, guys?
I don't know.
Well,
Chris's CrossFit workout.
Well, here's the thing that we might be able to put on there if people really want this. So my corner today, I've been having a bit of a stressful week.
Kyle's
we're
Corners
jumping
for
in
the
corner
Patreon.
Really fast.
Oh,
Kyle's Corner's the Patreon?
yeah.
Do that.
So that we don't have to subject the people who actually matter to it.
Right.
No, but how is that going to entice people to subscribe to the Patreon if all we're offering is Kyle's Corner?
Shit.
That's a terrible option. You're right.
Yeah.
All of Kyle's friends would give money. Kyle?
How many friends you got?
How many of you are there?
Like $1.50.
Okay.
Oh, Kyle, sorry, we interrupted you. You were
Right.
saying something.
Well, it is my corner. My week's been rather stressful. My cat had surgery, and it was supposed to be a very minor surgery and turned into a major surgery, which was not a fun phone call to come into. So I haven't been paying too much attention to what I should have been doing this week. And Scott told me it was my corner last night. So one of the things I feel like we could work on, and this, if for whatever reason the joke about the Patreon becomes a thing we do, one of the things I talked to everyone about was maybe getting into Warhammer since we got a 3D printer now. So I figured it'd be fun to talk about that a little bit and explore either the world or the game itself and see what you guys think of it. I've been talking to Scott about it for, a year and a half now? Something in that realm. So I figured it'd be a fun little topic to broach since it's something that I am marginally knowledgeable about, and it's a fun little universe to explore. It's a very fun game to play with your friends.
Would you say you're passionate?
I can be at times.
He was getting really mad yesterday.
Yeah. Big 3D printing fan, and someone else on YouTube ruined it for a lot of people here recently.
He wants to at this person right now.
Please don't.
We can at this person right now and start a fucking war.
Let's not.
Dude.
Well, what's the controversy here?
So, one of the factions...
Listen to what this asshole did.
One of the factions that I play has some incredible 3D modelers that recreate some of the models and improve on them significantly.
And don't necessarily work for Games Workshop.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily work for Games Workshop.
What is Games Workshop?
The
That
company
is the
that
people who
runs it.
make Warhammer.
Okay.
And so what happened was this person is basically the name if you want to 3D print this particular faction's models. Everybody who is a fan of 3D printing and of this faction knows this person, has bought models from this person, or, 3D files, STLs, from this person. Biggest name in that side of the internet. Like Games Workshop almost certainly knows who this person is, knows what they've got going on, and has just kind of ignored it for 2.5 years.
Okay.
And this YouTuber basically made a video yesterday. Sorry,
I just wanted to hold your hand.
I'm just angry. This YouTuber made a video yesterday that was basically, look at how I print an entire faction's army for $35. Screw you, Games Workshop. And then all of those models got nuked overnight.
What does that mean?
They've all got DMCA takedowns. So you now can no longer get those files.
I disagree. I'm sure you could definitely get those files.
Join that guy's
you
Patreon.
Could. So yeah, this is the problem that I had. Is this has happened multiple times from this YouTuber. He didn't pay for his 3D printer. He didn't pay for any of those files. They were just given to him for free. Then he made this video, and then all of the rest of the community who wanted to support this modeler now no longer can do that.
Okay, I don't think I'm understanding here quite yet.
Okay.
So he didn't make the files.
No, he didn't make the files.
Well, then why is he such a... Oh, I see.
The YouTuber brought attention to the guy to these files, to the STLs. He printed them off with a 3D printer he did not own.
Yeah, he got given a 3D one of the most expensive 3D printers on the market,
Or,
like
well,
a Frozen,
I should say,
whatever, $700 3D printer. You know, he just makes his videos with that. His Patreon subscribers gave him the files to print. Then he printed up the models and painted them up and said, "Look at what I did for like a quarter or a tenth or something of what it would take to pay Games Workshop for the plastic."
Gotcha.
Which, you know, when he's got a subscriber count is several times larger than ours, suddenly,
Not difficult.
and he's posting this guy's web page and links to all of the models that he used and what they're supposed to be. That is basically now Games Workshop can't ignore it. And so they had to get it taken down.
Gotcha.
When they probably could have, because, like, they look really good.
Do you think that this was malicious?
No. He just doesn't care.
There's maliciousness and...
Well, he's been told 3 times to stop it, and 3 times stuff has been taken down because of his actions. So either he doesn't care or he is, doing it maliciously, which I doubt.
You tell me where this guy lives, I'll go. I'll have somebody pay him a visit.
You'd have to swim across the Atlantic Ocean.
I could fly.
Okay. I'm not going to worry about it.
Hire someone to swim.
That's my, no thank you. That's my rant for that. I've just been real irritated by that for the last 12 hours.
My favorite thing about this is that yesterday he's like, I probably won't talk about it. And I said one sentence. And you told the whole story.
Yeah, I was pissed off. It made me legitimately mad because I was going to buy the models last night when I got home.
And now...
And they were gone by the time I got home.
Theoretically, the only way to get those models is by not supporting the man who made them.
Right. Which is the problem.
Right.
So I want to give him the money.
I'm sure if you reach out to him, he would be more than willing to accept free American
So
dollars.
hang on. Well, why is the original creator no longer providing the files?
Because they were DMCA.
But I thought that was like the whole point of Patreon, was that you could do whatever the fuck you wanted on it.
No, he doesn't have a Patreon. He's going through a different website. And so there's 2 different people involved in this, which is the creator of the files.
And then the YouTuber. Yes,
Right.
I got that. And technically a third, Games Workshop.
Right.
So where are the files?
They are, I think, still probably just on the original site he posted them to. They're just probably marked private so that nobody can get to them. Because I have some. I have like 1 because I bought it a while ago, and I can still see that in my download section on the website. But and he can update it, but other people can't see it on the store page.
I guess I'm just smooth brained here because I don't understand what the problem is. Like, why, if they are original files, did Games Workshop have any
They look
ground to?
They do look similar, and people are using them as a stand-in for what the thing is supposed to be. And if you say that, then it's basically trying to use the same one. And the website that does it just has no intention of fighting a DCM or a DCMA strike, so they'll just take it down.
I think it's also similar to it's just consider action figures. If I were to make a Mickey Mouse action figure that's named Maxie Mouse, and it's just Mickey Mouse, but he has a blue overalls on instead of red, and then I sold that for cheesh, Disney would eat my asshole.
Right.
I want to make that mouse now.
But if you drew a completely different face, there might be legal grounds to get away with it for a while.
I don't know. With action figures, It's because
hard to
there's
do.
just such a low disconnect between what I'm doing and what they are doing. Like, if I were to do what this guy did, and literally, okay, this is gonna sound like devil's advocate here. What he's doing is pretty hardcore and not okay, I feel. He is literally taking what they are doing and just saying, I'll do this, but for way cheaper. You just have to print it yourself.
Right. I don't have a problem with Games Workshop in this. What they're doing is completely on board. Arguably they should be doing this. It's just a matter of, like, they are requiring people to spend an exorbitant amount of money for very, very small returns on, little bits of plastic. And they could break into the 3D market, the 3D printing market, if they wanted to, but they refuse to do that.
That's interesting.
And they will continue to refuse to do that. So, 3D printers kind of don't care about that. And, if you get the files, whatever. So there's going to be a market for it. So it operates in a gray area, but, it's one of those things where if you want to be in the 3D printing zone and you want to be in the Warhammer zone of 3D printing, there is a common courtesy around basically everyone of, like, hey, don't, like, put this stuff on Games Workshop's radar.
Don't be a fucking narc.
Right. Especially if you've been told to stop it.
What if that guy is... I don't know. It doesn't matter.
So anyway, now that my rant
Game
is
Workshop's
over,
mole into the community.
right? Yeah, that's been postulated. Now that my rant is over, do you want guys?
A great corner, Kyle.
Why don't we just make our own battle game?
I mean, we could do that. Part of the thing is that Games Workshop is bad.
Are you gonna finish that after the card game and the board game,
right?
And the tabletop game?
Well, with all of you
and the video games.
helping-
He's making video games too.
And the video.
And the video games.
Yeah.
Well, Unity had a bit of a kerfuffle. I'm gonna stop working in that until Unity figures out their shit.
Interesting.
Because I'm
learn
not,
Unreal.
I'm not
Great. So
I'm
we're not gonna attack this YouTuber, but we're gonna attack a Unity.
I am not going to pay Unity for
You should just learn
my
Unreal.
99-cent game to be put on Steam.
Why would you put it on Steam?
Right.
Put it on Itch. What are we talking about here?
Okay, I don't know.
anything about it.
He went off a different tangent.
Did you make Flappy Bird?
Yeah,
That was a good game.
it was.
Popular back in the
Very popular.
2010.
It wasn't then, and mine sucked. But
The fact is that no, I'm not going to let you say yours sucked. Okay? Have any of us made a video game?
I have.
Go fuck
It was
yourself.
terrible. I did for my computer science courses. It was bad.
Man,
I
the
don't-
waveform of that "Go fuck yourself" is really nice to look at.
So, I figured, this is the thing I wanted to talk about for a little bit because we've got the 3D printer. We can start printing some models since John's campaign printing stuff is kind of in a little bit of a lull. He's got most of what he wants for a while.
I
and
think
he's
I've
painted
printed enough of my campaign encounters for the next year.
I'm
Right.
hoping
So-
that by the time summer rolls around, we can start cranking out these, or maybe even spring, we can start cranking out these Warhammer minis. And I want to get playing. I want to actually
Right.
play a game so I know how I will feel about it.
Right. So, Cody, I know this isn't super in your wheelhouse, but you're welcome to join if you want.
I am ready to learn.
Okay, cool. So the first thing that everyone is probably going to want to do is understand that this is, a bunch of little minis on a tabletop simulating like a little battle going on.
Kyle, that is my dream for every Saturday night.
Now, the other fun thing that Scott was real excited about this is not only is it just like one-off battle, what you can do is called a narrative campaign where you play the battle and the aftermath gives you points and stuff so that you can expand your army, upgrade it, keep going on and on.
I just want to see so I know if I'm being too quiet.
so the
So you can tell a story with your little
Okay.
army.
So the war simulator genre that then became D&D was then recombined together to
Yes.
make great, wonderful.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
That is what happened. part of it is I'm going to need to know what models you guys want, so what factions you guys want to play as, so that I can go find those models so you guys can look into them. So I guess we might need to talk about those. Chris and Scott have already decided on their factions pretty consistently.
What have they chosen?
I don't
I like
trust
the boys.
Chris. I don't trust Chris.
Chris is great for orcs.
I'll say that I watched that video. It was a very good video. In fact, if you could remember the link to that video, put it in this one.
Which one?
I highly recommend it. That one that was just like all of the factions in half an hour or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it was just a really well-made
there's-
video, and it was fun to listen to those guys who
Yeah.
actually know what they're talking about talk about it.
I can get that for you. Plug to the Poor Hammer podcast.
Poor
They're
Hammer.
great little podcast.
Yeah.
Poor Hammer. They're great. They've got 2 little things in there. So to give you guys the basic idea of what I'm working with here, we have
I also am orcs, but it's because I did a personality Warhammer test.
Mhm.
right while you were half asleep.
I don't even know if I was sober.
Maybe you can tell me who my faction is, Kyle.
Okay.
I'm not being facetious here. This is just how I make decisions.
Okay.
Which faction is the most generic, boring, do-gooder faction in the game?
Space Marines.
That's
Hold on. There's actually a few different answers to that. Are you looking for good guys, or are you just looking for generic?
Good guys. Good guy, generic, boring.
Okay, so I should explain in
I don't think there's
Warhammer
any
40k,
good guys.
there are no good guys whatsoever. There is just varying different shades
This
of
is where
dickhead.
Cody unplugs
Okay, well-
and just leaves.
Well,
Kyle.
But there
good,
are
good just means America. So who's America?
the Tau.
All right. Just be
okay.
Tau.
I guess I'll be the
All
Tau.
right.
Okay, I've got a lot of Tau model stuff, so that'll work out. The basic premise is it is 40,000 years in the future from the present. Humanity went out into space. Then some bad things happened, and humanity got separated from itself by giant hell storms in space. After those cleared up, some super psychic gold dickhead decided, I'm gonna make sure humanity gets into the future so they don't die out. And he goes about conquering and killing anybody who disagrees with him and taking over all of the human worlds out in the galaxy. And then some of his test tube baby general children that he made decide, maybe he's not the greatest, and then try to backstab him. There was a big civil war, and everyone lost. So now the humans are the largest empire in the galaxy, and they have been slowly decaying into theocratic fascist dictatorship across an entire galaxy for 10,000 years. That is the Imperium. That is the humans. The humans in this are weird. They worship a dead guy sitting on a throne for the last 10,000 years who may or may not be a god. They're pretty convinced he is. They are still intent on going out and conquering every world they can. Anybody who doesn't look like what they expect humans to look like is considered a mutant.
So they're Nazis.
Yeah, they're Nazis.
Gonna be honest, you're really selling the Imperium here for me. I think I might be changing my answer.
Okay, there's a bunch of different factions inside the Imperium to play.
Gotcha.
But
You
the
thought
Space
your
Marines
answer was done?
We'll get
There's like 10 of those fuckers.
Yeah. So we've got where was I sitting with this? Right. We were anything that is against being part of the Imperium or doesn't consider the Emperor or God or anything that might disagree with the state's message is branded a heretic. And anything that is clearly not a human, so all of the other aliens that exist in the galaxy are the Xenos, the aliens. And so one of the primary creeds of the Imperium is suffer not the heretic, the mutant, or the Xeno to live. So they're very much, it's our way or we will set you on fire. And if you don't look like us, we're going to do it anyway. So that's the humans. If you want, there are a bunch of different factions within them. We have the generic of
Did you
the...
just hear that loud ass mosquito that went by?
There is the poster boys of 40k, the generics, which is the Space Marines, which are super augmented soldiers in, a truck's worth of armor carrying around guns the size of a fucking mailbox that
Like
fire...
Doom Guy or Master Chief?
Think Master Chief, but you gave him mutant human growth hormone and also gave him a rocket launcher as a machine gun.
George.
Gears of
think,
War.
Think like George.
Oh, Gears of War. That's a good voice.
They look like Gears of War, but think George's size. So yeah, the Space Marines are the poster boys. There's technically only supposed to be like 1 million of them in the entire galaxy.
Only.
Well, in contrast, the Imperial Guard, which is just the regular dudes with a gun that serve as the hammer of the Emperor. They are the actual military rather than the special forces. There's like a quadrillion of them.
Oh, that is a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
An order of magnitude, several orders of magnitude difference there.
Yes.
Hold on,
the
before we
Imperial
continue,
Guard,
I just really want to
Yeah.
hammer home my perception of all of this, where
yes.
it fits firmly into the... I think I've talked about this on the podcast before.
Mhm.
It fits right squarely into that section of my brain that I like to say is filled with Kyle fiction.
Okay.
And Kyle fiction is like stuff that, and I'll admit that I look at most Kyle fiction with very blatant derision.
For the people in the back who don't know what derision is.
I don't like it.
Yeah, he doesn't like it.
Mockery.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I think the hallmark of
Scott, here real quick. I don't think we've ever talked about this on the podcast before, but as soon as you said Kyle fiction, I knew immediately what you meant.
Yeah, you did. You
yeah.
absolutely did.
All of us know what it means.
That's why I all
I
laugh.
guess my interpretation of what Kyle fiction is fiction that is going out of its way to impress the reader in some way. Not only with just the scale, but like the little tiny details that nobody gives a fucking shit about. Like, the Space Marines weigh 800,000 kilos when they walk around, and they're actually way bigger than you'd expect, but they look like they're not so big, but they're actually like fucking huge. If you saw one next to a human, it'd be like twice as high. Like, Halo is on the fringes of Kyle fiction, because I don't give two fucks about how heavy the Mjolnir armor is. But the people who made Halo really do.
Right.
But Scott, dude, Master Chief was abducted when he was a small child.
I will
and
say.
he was replaced with a clone that died like months later.
Mr. Chef.
So 40K certainly falls within that. And strangely enough, both ranges where it's just enough to be irritating that the numbers exist at all, even though they don't make any sense. And the other fringe where it's like, this is way too much detail for anybody to care about. And the best times for 40K are when it doesn't take itself seriously and falls out of that version.
Right.
So
the fact that the Silmarillion exists
is probably
means that Lord of the Rings is Kyle fiction.
that's what it sounds like it turns it into.
No. I wouldn't say that. It's kind of like porn. You just know it when you see it.
Silmarillion?
It's like it's the background story to the Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
The World Book.
Yeah.
It's about the Silmarils.
Mm-hmm. 3 precious stones created by Feanor, greatest of all the Noldor elves.
Have you not done your research?
He didn't do the reading before this podcast.
So
Don't slaughter me if he actually is in Noldor.
but yeah, if you want generic and you like the Imperium Space Marines, and there's like 30 different flavors of Space Marine if you care. Next up, I guess we'll say the Imperial Guard, the Astra Militarum. That is literally just regular dudes in space in the trillions.
Why would anybody
Mm-hmm.
pick the Imperial Guard when Space Marines are available?
Oh. Cody, don't. That's how you make me pick the Imperial Guard.
I'm not being sarcastic. I'm trying to learn, John.
Cody.
Okay.
Why? What is the benefit? Why would somebody choose?
I will give you an in-universe quote about Space Marines versus the Guard to explain this. I just cut Chris off majorly, and it was great, the look he gave me. The standard Imperial Guardsman has just a laser rifle. It is effectively a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? A Space Marine was counseling other Space Marines. He's like, the humble lasgun is not that impressive. However, you will learn to respect it when you have to charge 100 of them across an open field. there are more guardsmen than there will ever be Space Marines, and they're cheap.
Is this represented within the game mechanics?
Yes.
The Imperial Guard has more units on the battlefield.
Yes. Like, for example, their basic tank isn't a great tank, but you can field, like, 12 of them on the battlefield. The guardsmen, you can bring, like, hundreds if you really push it. You can have, like, 200 individual models.
See? We're learning. This is why I ask questions. I want to be engaged.
So these are your 1/1 goblins for one.
Yes.
That you just spawn constantly.
Yes, that is how you
I
play
think
the guard.
Chris has changed his army.
Meat wave.
No.
The orcs do something similar, but you're an orc.
Yay.
My extremely basic brain is comparing this to the rock, paper, scissors that was Halo Wars. Whereas, like, I could have 100 of infantry, but I could only have 10 tanks.
The guard is 15
Or I could
tanks.
have 1 scarab.
See, my
He's yawning, I heard it.
comment was going to be directly towards Cody. There are very popular games that people pay real money for that just simulate a job
Prove it.
in real life.
Farming Simulator.
Damn it.
He's not wrong. Euro Truck
because-
Simulator.
Once
Madden.
you...
That is a job. It's a job.
Yeah, you're right. What holy fucking shit.
It's probably one of the most popular games ever.
And, like, the whole thing is that once you remove the need to do something, it can become fun.
Oh, that's
So
a really
the
good
boringness becomes the selling.
It's the exact opposite of don't make your hobby your job.
hang on.
Boringness isn't the word I use. Mundanity.
Yes, mundanity.
Chris, what are you responding
Yeah,
to?
I don't know.
Why would you play the Imperial Guard over the Space Marines?
Yeah.
Oh.
point. We moved on.
I guess it's kind of the same place my brain goes when I think of, like, why the fuck would I play a fighter in Pathfinder?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, like, the
Hey.
point of it is that I am just a guy with a sword.
Right.
Well, I also think that, like, people clown on, like, human fighter, but even within that kind of generic decision, there's still infinite possibilities on what this character can be.
And that is true in 40k too.
It's
with
why
the
I
guard.
don't really care to play anything other than a human in role-playing
Sure,
games.
that's why.
If you connect really well with the human aspect of just being like, I'm a dude way over my fucking head, out in space fighting monsters or giant super soldiers, the guard's for you. That's usually the selling point for them, is like, you're just a regular dude, but you keep up.
So Starship Trooper.
Yeah.
So we've
you like
covered-
Starship Troopers.
We've covered the Space Marines
We've
and
covered the guard.
Guard.
I'm
guard.
going to go through 2 more real quick that are real easy to get out of the way. That is the Adeptus Custodes. That is the bodyguards of the Emperor himself, even though he's kind of sort of dead on the throne, maybe sort of. It's just Space Marines plus plus plus. It's like you bring 20 dudes to the army. That's it. That's overkill. They are the Superman of super soldiers.
The
and
Mr.
they're all
Chefs.
painted in gold. Yeah.
Doom guy.
Yeah, it's basically an army of like 5 Doom guys. That's what you're bringing to the table. There's the Grey Knights, which is just super Space Marines, not as heavy as the Custodes, but all psychic. That's it. Those are the 2 that I'm going to get out of the way, because that's about all we need for them. We have the Adeptus Sororitas, which is basically...
Sounds hot.
that is kind of an image they try to project.
Wow, it's
I'm not
working
even
for
joking.
John.
They are essentially, think if you gave an entire army of super religious zealot women's chainsaw swords and power armor.
Sign me up.
I'm no longer interested when you said super religious.
They are so fanatically devoted to the Emperor that they literally cause miracles.
Sounds like they don't have time for me then.
Flame me again, mommy.
These are
They do not
take-
the space nuns.
Interestingly enough, they do not take vows of celibacy.
What celibacy?
Wow. Okay, John. I didn't know we had to put training wheels on this conversation.
I've heard of Celebi.
Okay.
Have-
There is...
That's a Pokemon.
Or is it Cerebi?
That's Celebi.
Okay.
Cerebi is the website.
I'll put it...
Oh.
The thing they really love to do is set people on fire.
Who doesn't?
That is their all.
I've moved past my arson phase.
Okay.
I haven't.
We've got the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are essentially the manufacturing wing of the entire Imperium, except they get all the good stuff for themselves. They have an entire second religion that they are allowed to practice, which is essentially that we'll just say they worship the machine god, which they believe holds all knowledge, and so they try to get themselves more into that realm by replacing various different parts of their own bodies with mechanical bits.
To help you visualize it a little bit better, Chris, in particular.
They are terrifying.
The AdMech remind me a lot, just in aesthetic-wise. They remind me a lot of the Scobs from Innistrad.
Ooh.
Where it's just
All
like...
right. Hell yeah.
with Scobs, where it was like Frankenstein monsters, this is less that and more like put steampunk on a corpse, but the corpse is alive, actually.
Urgot.
I was thinking...
Urgot's a pretty good explanation of what they look like.
I was thinking the, what do you call them? The people from Mad Max Fury Road.
Sure.
The guys that, they worship the V8 engine.
Sort of.
God
What do they call
it.
them? The
God damn it. Come
Rider
on.
boys? The car boys?
He's like,
I don't remember.
it's something
Truck
boys.
Drag boys?
We did
Doughboys?
No.
It's not, is it Diesel Boys?
No.
Might be. No. I don't know. Either way,
I'll think of it up.
they are very, very concerning to look at because they replace parts that you thought were pretty necessary to survival.
Your penis?
Oh yeah, that goes real early on.
What?
Oh yeah.
That'd be like the last one for me. I'd give my liver before that.
They get your liver too pretty early on. They're a they're a faction that leans very heavily on the body horror. If you
No,
like them.
don't say those words.
It's okay, John.
One of my favorite factions. They're my second favorite faction on here.
Help me, Ember.
The only other one that I think really is worth mentioning in the Imperium is the Imperial Knights.
That was like body horror Kermit. Why
The Imperial
are
Knights-
there so many songs about rainbows?
Help.
Okay. Okay. So the Imperial Knights is kind of like if you took like the prototype.
These guys kind of sold me a little bit.
The Imperial Knights is if you take the prototype for like a Gundam, where they didn't quite figure out how it works, and suited it up in a set of full plate armor, and then had the dude inside it be from the 1300s and be an actual knight. So they're giant, stompy, 40-foot tall robot mechs with the giant war horn and speaker system blasting on about chivalry and and honor and all that stuff.
It makes me think of the guy from Fallout, something Prime.
Liberty Prime?
Yeah, that's what that makes me
That's
think
very, very similar, but just go to the medieval era and you've got
Yeah.
pretty much exactly what you're looking
It
at.
feels redundant for a giant mech to also have plate armor. Like, there's nothing that plate armor is gonna do that the mech isn't already doing.
Yeah, I know.
What scares you more? Just a giant robot or a giant robot wearing plate armor?
Oh, the plate armor for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No question.
It's definitely a mentality thing.
Sometimes it's all about the aesthetic.
We'll jump over to the chaos section. I don't particularly am
It's
I'm
pronounced
not a fan
Chouse,
of it.
actually.
So
Chouse.
Well, what about this Tau? Who are the Tau?
they're down in the alien section. But
they're
I'll
aliens.
And now he's not interested.
No,
No, they're okay. Well, technically,
You
they're
wanna
like
go
a
to the, Zealot
commune, so they
babes?
have humans
they're like
and aliens.
They're like the Covenant almost.
Am I incorrect in
but,
thinking
like,
that the
if
Tau
the-
are the closest to being like Gundams?
I thought they were
Yes.
going to be Asians.
They do have very, very Japanese themes.
It is the way.
So we'll jump down to Xenos and we'll do chaos later.
Tower.
We'll start with the
It's
Tau, so
pronounced Chouse,
everyone
actually,
knows what the
Chouse.
Tau are like. The
Thank you,
Tau
Scott.
are blue humanoid aliens that are very, very new to the galaxy. Their biggest thing is that they have been advancing technologically on a scale that is unrivaled by any other faction. In essentially, like, the Imperium is 10,000 years old, and that's built on the corpse of a 20,000-year-old empire that happened a long-ass time ago when humanity was the technological peak that we could ever reach, and we were doing stuff like rewriting reality and whatnot. That civilization died off, and the Imperium was built with the leftover bones of that. The Tau are 6,000 years old, and they have gone from cavemen throwing rocks at each other to full-on space empire in 6,000 years. And they're starting to rival the Imperium in technology. They are heavily based on multiple different Asian cultures. The immediate one that stands out is probably Japan. But they do practice something like a caste system. So, for example, at the head is the ethereals. These were the people who came in and basically told all of the ancient Tau that were throwing rocks at each other, is like, hey, maybe we work together and this stops being too much of a problem, and everyone listened to them. And that's what got them the head. Then you have the people who are the engineers, you have the diplomats, you have the people who are pilots, you have the fire warriors, which is what you'd normally play as for the Tau. And then they started... they're hard to play, and that's because they are like a modern army. They pretty much exclusively fight at range. Melee's a big thing in 40k, and they use things like drones and Gundams and aircraft and air superiority and, rail guns, plasma cannons, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. They have a very samurai-esque design by their looks, and they practice their whole shtick is that everything is for the greater good. Mm-hmm. And
this
so
all sounds right down your alley, except they're blue.
Here's the thing. I actually really appreciate that we're sitting down to talk about all this. Otherwise, you guys would have saddled me with this hippy-dippy commune weeb bullshit of a faction.
That is literally what they get called by their detractors.
I'm going with the Imperium. Somewhere in the Imperium now. You guys were really trying to do that to me. I've been friends with you for a long time.
Guys.
They didn't know.
Guys,
I'm learning with you.
Oh, I knew.
Cody's reaching his Chad phase.
Yeah, they do get called communist space weebs.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of interesting stuff going on. They're one of the other factions. I like most of the alien factions more than I do anything.
Chris, do you know that Cody's middle name was Chad?
What?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, I'll cover orcs for Chris's benefit, and maybe John's. John's considering the orcs before.
Oh, they spell orcs with a K.
They do spell orcs with a
K. I don't like
There's
it.
two things I know about orcs.
For reference, orcs in universe do not have the letter C. They only use the letter K.
That's efficient.
Smart.
The letter C doesn't need to exist. We have K, we have S.
So, orcs are based on the orcs from Warhammer Fantasy, which were based on 60s to 1990s English football hooligans, which, we say football hooligans, we think, oh, a bunch of rowdy college frat boys get drunk. No, these were the guys who were using any excuse whatsoever they could find to go out, get drunk, and then break someone's legs with a baseball bat.
We're talking like Chicago.
Rugby bat.
Not even rugby bat. These guys were they just needed any excuse to hurt
Rugbies
somebody.
don't have
We're
bats,
going
guys.
to
Like, what the fuck are we
flip
talking
a car and set the town on fire.
about? What in the fuck
if,
are we talking about?
Westminster doesn't win tonight.
And if they do win, we're going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
So the orcs are based on that, and then that was basically, what if we put them in space? And so the orcs are, basically football hooligans in space, and the only thing they care about is fighting and winning, and the green is the best, because the orcs is the best.
We're the boys.
We're gonna go out, we're gonna fight them, we're gonna crump them, we're gonna win, because we's the boys and we's the best. They speak in a Cockney accent, pretty much nonstop, and it is an awful accent.
It'd be odd if they changed the accent.
That'd be weird.
It
That'd
would
be
be.
like me.
That's honestly my biggest turnoff about him is I don't think I do a good Cockney accent. And that doesn't mean challenge me and put me on the spot right now because I'm not going to do it. But
Gov, I'm gonna rape you till you're dead.
I was playing Magic the Gathering in the same space that people were playing Warhammer. trust me when I say orc players,
Get into it.
they do their accent.
And
Some
they're
better than others.
they're all about Dawa because if you scream war in a Cockney accent, it's gonna come out wah.
Oh, see, I was doing like a Kid Rock, like wah to the bang,
No,
to
that's
bang, diggy, diggy.
that's bar to the bar. Bar with the bar.
Anyway,
Oh,
the orcs. The orcs.
But if Kid Rock sang it in a Cockney accent,
Ball with the
it
ball,
would-
but dying the dying
if you want to know
diggy stick.
more about the if you
I really got a little Scottish there.
There we
go.
if you guys want to know a pretty decent rendition of what the orcs would be like, it's basically just think of someone else built weaponized stupidity, and that's basically what the orcs bring to the table.
Hell yeah.
This is part of the reason I'm not a huge fan of orcs, because I don't like specifically this aspect he's about to talk about.
Basically, they're so stupid that they have a collective psychic field that allows them to change reality to fit with what they believe should be right.
This
Okay.
is the one thing I know about Warhammer 40k.
They're like the Kuatoa from D&D.
They are.
Almost. They are they are very close. Yes.
Only they're walking sentient mushrooms.
How much are they like the Toa from Bionic?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not even close. We have
Those are fun to build.
the orcs are a great fun faction. They're all about chaos in
Chess.
in random. They're not the chaos of the interior stuff, but they're like everything that you want to do with the orcs is roll more dice. Potentially, it blows up when you do it.
Yay.
Every time there's going to be orcs happening, I'm just going to imagine a bunch of peaky blinders. Oh, nobody messes
They're
with
from-
the peaky blinders.
They're from Birmingham,
I don't give a fuck.
not London, I think.
So we've also got the space
It's impossible to
elves, the
understand what
Eldar.
any of them say, so I have no idea where it takes place.
We've got technically 3 to 4 different versions of Space Elf. We've got your we'll say the light elves. They're pretty big, much assholes anyway. Still, they're the Eldari, the Craft Worlders. They are flying around in giant spaceships, nearly planet-sized spaceships, because their entire species is slowly dying out because they summoned one of the 4 big satans in the universe, and it ate all their souls.
Only 4?
And so they're the last ones. There's currently a 5th one coming about, but we won't worry about that.
Fun.
So yeah, they're terribly scared of getting dying, and because their soul immediately gets sucked into the warp, which is the realm of souls and stuff, or hell, wherever you want to call it. It looks like hell now because that's what happens when you spend 40,000 years just killing each other. And so they're doing everything they can to avoid that. They have what is known as the path system, which is basically in order to contain their vast emotional depth and not end up in any given extreme, basically hypnotize themselves to one particular aspect of any given aspect of life. And then once they have mastered it, they put it away. They compartmentalize that away from their mind anymore, and they go do a different one. And so the big thing that we got for Warhammer, because this is all about war, is the various different paths of war that they follow. So you have people who are really good generalists. You have people that are really, really good with a rocket launcher, for example. Really good at being basically a predator from AVP.
Why
Oh.
specifically AVP and not Predator?
I don't know.
Or like
Just
a
like-
school.
Wow.
There are teachers. Yes, they're incredibly psychic, and very, very good pilots overall. A lot of stuff going on there. They have a very distinct, almost Aztec look to them.
Deal on.
They do have one thing in their aesthetic that really bothers people, and is that all of their helmets are big cone heads.
Yeah, they look kind of silly.
So if you
I think.
don't like
it's
if you
them.
don't like tight-fitting bodysuits with big cone head, you're not gonna like the looks of the
They
Eldar.
look like the original Llanowar elf.
A little
Possibly,
bit.
yeah. Yeah, they do look kind of like that.
Is it bad that
That's-
I'm imagining the adoring fan?
That
Just because
is,
of how his hair is.
it is kind of close to that.
They look
So it's
pretty
not
dumb.
terrible.
I honestly saw them and I'm like, nope.
So then those are the good elves, for lack of a better term. There's also playable faction wise. We have inside that the space clowns. And I will say no more on them because they got kicked and they're no longer allowed to be their own faction.
Why?
Because they have 8 models and that's it, and you need like 30 different kinds of units in order to have a fully functional army. And so
instead of making more, there's like
you're just not allowed to be a whole army anymore.
great.
You can just fill in. Next, we're going to have the Drukhari, which is the Dark Elves. They're the ones who are the remnants left over of making one of these Satans. They think murder orgies, but on a galactic scale, and that's what caused it. And they're the ones who went, that was terrible. Let's double down. So their whole shtick is that they are the supervillains of the setting, and they love it. They literally feed on pain and suffering that they inflict on others.
Hellraiser, but elves.
Yeah, Hellraiser, but elves.
Also Rakdos.
Yeah, I was gonna say Rakdos as well, but I think there really is one that is truly Rakdos.
They're basically just space pirate elves who go Amber Alert an entire planet so that they can torture people.
There's one later on that's like specifically like a bunch of actors, right? Putting on a play.
That's the clowns.
The clowns are Rakdos.
Oh, okay.
Everybody on that planet just gets a message saying, we have a Series 4 starship with the license plate UI 74969.
42069,
if you guys
actually.
see anything to do with this, please report.
That's great, John.
Okay. Yeah, so that's them. I can jump into, we'll say we'll do Leagues of Votan next. They're kind of like half an army. Their range just got released last year, so they should see another update to like the other half of their army that they're going to need to be a fully functional faction sometime in the next 2 years. But I can find all of those models at the moment. They're just space dwarves. If you like Deep Rock Galactic, they're great. They are humans, but they were modified to be much better at dealing with the galactic core. So they look like space dwarves, and they've been basically isolated from the rest of humanity since the 20,000s. So they've completely diverged in culture and all kinds of stuff. They're all clones, sort of. And they have giant supercomputers that are the knowledge base for all of their equipment, all of the things that they need to do while they're here in the core, all of their mining stuff. And they have started worshiping them and downloading all of their dead's brains into them, slowing them down, and they've never turned them off or anything like that. So it's like you have space dwarves being led by crazy 20,000-year-old supercomputers who are being fed the dead.
The internet?
Yeah, it's basically like that.
They're 20,000 years worth of updates
that need to happen.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's that. So, but yeah, they've got they look kind of Space Marine-y on the table, save for like the Ninja Turtle truck. I'll show you guys that later. That's what it's called, and it's great. They're still finding what that army is supposed to be, because they kind of came up with the aesthetic first, and then they never really figured out how to implement the game side of them super well.
A mechanical identity.
Right. They don't have one right now. So they're a bit harder to work with on that front. I'll jump into Necrons.
Hell
Those
yeah.
are
Hell yeah.
this is Scott's faction. These are undead Egyptian Terminators. They are one of the oldest factions in the entire setting, along with the elves and the orcs. And basically, before they were robots, they were a race of humanoid cancer, essentially, because regular people who just happened to live next to a sun that was just belching out so much radiation that they just got magic space cancer, and now, even when they left it, they can't get rid of it.
The big C.
So they found they found some space fart gas eating their sun, and they stuffed it in a giant metal body, started worshipping it as a god, and then their god, the Catan, was like, okay, this is neat. What if I eat their souls instead of, eating a star? And then they all got turned into space Terminator zombie skeleton things because they wanted to live forever, because they were all dying so early in life. They had how we always say that the average expected lifespan in the Middle Ages was like 30, but that's being brought down by
death rates.
infant. Yeah,
mortality.
these guys just died at 30 because they got cancer.
Awesome.
So now they all have. Awesome metal bodies, and they got rid of their ability for free will because they're all slave to the people in charge, which are the only ones who have any personality anymore, which is all of the lords and generals, and the aristocracy got to keep their minds, but after 65 million years they're gone crazy.
Speaking purely aesthetically, if you were all of you, to just take a gander at all of the armies and all of the units that people have to offer, and thought, which one would Scott like? Necrons would make the short list in all of your minds.
Pretty much. We've got 2 more aliens. We have the Tyranids, which are my favorite faction. They are essentially an enormous wave of giant space locusts. They basically they are the only true aliens to the galaxy. They came from outside the galaxy. They come in and they basically just eat whole planets. They strip off everything that could ever be used for biological processes and leave a dead rock.
Instead of gray goo, it's pink goo.
Pretty much. And then and they are very intelligent and guided by an overarching hive mind that is not a physical thing. It is just all of their brains linked together. They all have one collective soul, and it's very angry and very hungry.
And very
Is
phallic.
anything like the Flood?
They're actually like the Flood
They
pretty
are like the
closely.
Flood?
They're very, very adaptable. They are all like engineered evolution, so any problem they run into that they can't just throw more bodies at, they will adapt to that problem.
So many of the units look like cocks that move.
They do have the thing is they're biological in every single aspect, so the problem you have is they have guns, and any biological gun is gonna look phallic. So
and they're not doing any favor. Like,
no, they're not. No, one of the most recent releases was just a Tyranid holding a horse cock.
Yeah,
that's just what it was. Everyone looked at that. How did that get past whoever's supposed to stop that?
That is kink approved right there.
Yeah, that's what it was. Now, they also have a small sub-faction called the Gene Stealer Cults, which is basically them going, you know what would be really nice is if these humans were at war with their own people, so that when we come in, we can just eat them. We don't have to worry about fighting them. So they have organisms that they send to the planet to then infect humans with Tyranid DNA and subsume them into the hive mind and start little underground cults that will eventually rise up right before the Tyranids show up and start attacking infrastructure and stuff to make the defenses weaker. And they have their own little faction, and they look kind of close to what you would imagine if you had a hybrid between like the gray aliens and regular people.
Some people think that's what gray aliens are, though.
They have a very distinct look of like freedom fighters or terrorist organizations or a Mad Max style kind of aesthetic going on, and the giant alien mutants that they also have running around with them. So that's all the aliens, if any of those sound fun. And the other one is Chaos, which is supposedly the big bad of the entire system. About half of it is just different flavors of Space Marine devoted to each of the different Chaos gods, of which there are 4. And then we have Chaos Knights, which is just knights, but, evil. And then the actual demons as well to go with them. Now, do you guys want me to go into all those? Because mostly what I would do is talk about the different Chaos gods.
I would say, from my experience, when watching that video I mentioned before, Chouse was pretty underwhelming.
Some people really love it, but it's definitely for if you want to play the unabashedly bad guy and who's having a great time.
But like that's the thing, it doesn't even feel like that to me. It doesn't even look like that to me.
It does. It mostly just looks like Space Marines, but covered in spikes.
It's dumb. It's stupid.
Now, granted, the
demons.
The demons do have a very unique aesthetic to them. The Khorne ones look like pretty average demons, like you would expect them to, but the other 3 have very, very distinct looks. Like if you want Tzeentch, you've got he's all about magic and shit and range stuff, and he's got these horrible little morphing monster things, and then also giant chicken monsters.
I think part of the reason I was so underwhelmed by Chouse as well is Chouse is one of my favorite Blood Bowl teams.
Mm-hmm.
And
Blood Bowl is also in this.
They're
universe.
very visually distinct from the other teams. Like, there's a goat guy. The three main pieces are a goat guy, a bull guy, and like a man that looks like a man, but he's huge. And you know if he took off his helmet, he'd just be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I'm just into that. I like their aesthetic a lot. But then their aesthetic in 40K is so fucking boring to me, I feel.
Yeah, they also do run into the problems in that one of the Chaos Gods is not represented on the tabletop super well because it's just not child friendly, and they're trying to market to children.
What the fuck ever?
You would think, but apparently this is the one that's the problem.
It shows its nipples.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
What?
Yes. That's Slanesh. That is the Chaos God of hedonism and its excess.
Nice.
Right.
That's the one that. So that's the one that got spawned by the elves, and is a bit of an issue.
It probably has like weirdly large nipples that are like always hard.
Like John.
So that's the thing that's going on there in Chaos. I'm not doing them. I'm not selling them super well because I'm just not a fan.
Let me say
Neither is Scott.
Like when I come to a sci-fi setting, I want like aliens and stuff. I don't want the 4 different flavors of Satan.
You guys are brothers?
Yes.
This man's all human. This man's no human.
To what's the word I'm looking for? To buttress my viewpoint of a lot of this is so much of what I like about the different armies is specifically their aesthetic, because I don't really fully understand the
really awesome
mechanic side yet. But what I know of the mechanic side did intrigue me with Necrons as well, don't get me wrong. But again, I was exposed to Blood Bowl first, and so I kind of can't help but look at a lot of this through a Blood Bowl lens.
Right.
And I wish...
Is Blood Bowl set in the Warhammer universe?
It's set in the Warhammer fantasy universe.
Ah, okay.
And it's essentially just rugby, but fantasy rugby.
Mm-hmm.
And people die.
Also, there's no rules against killing your enemies.
And sometimes you're
killing your
encouraged.
opponents. Yeah, sometimes it's easier
And,
to
like,
just
that
beat
sounds
the shit out of someone on the
bombastic
field
and-
than it is to get the ball.
That sounds bombastic and silly, but I really do want to play Blood Bowl with you guys because I think the idea of us having the 5 of us, we could do a season of Blood Bowl, and we could have our players and level them up as we go. Like, you literally get experience points from killing the other players. And I just love how raw and fast it can happen, where I'm playing lizard people, and I just have like a little fast guy and the skink. The skinks are the ball carriers, and they move really fast and they're dodgy. But then, like, your skink could just get a bad roll and die in like game 4, and it was your star player, and he's gone for good.
Yep, that is a thing that can happen in narrative play if we were going to do a Crusade game, which I think we should do.
I just like the idea that I can't lose if there's no opponent team to lose against.
That's
so just kill
the
them.
Chouse like that, and a lot of the Bashi, the orcs like that too sometimes.
This heavily reminds me of Scott and I's strategy when we played a fucking NASCAR game.
Yep.
We stop going, turn around, and just go to ruin the entire the entire group.
So to give you guys a little bit more of an idea of what you might be looking at with 40K, I'll break down just a very, very broad overview of the different things that are in the game, so what you can understand what each one brings. The different aspects are things like your command phase, which is where you like issue orders for buffs and debuffs and all kinds of different things to do weird stuff. You have the movement phase, which is where you get all the models to move around based on their movement characteristics. There's the shooting phase, which is where you fire all your guns off. There used to be the psychic phase. Supposedly we might be able to bring that back or whatever, but that's where you do all your space magic. then you've got the charge phase, which is where you run into melee, and then the fight phase, which is where you beat up whoever you charged, and then they get to hit you back. And every faction will exist somewhere on each of those little continuums of how good they are at them and what they bring to the table in there. So for further information, I can break those down for you where you guys want. We might want to do that later, but if you guys want to ask, I can always ask. I can always do that on there.
Can you ask me a
Chris
question?
Wants orcs. What do you want me to ask you,
Excuse me?
Scott? What do you want me?
Just like anything, I'm here to answer.
What's your favorite dish?
I like lasagna a lot, but I think my favorite is salmon, smoked salmon.
That's a good one.
Yeah, after my own heart.
We know Chris wants to run orcs. We know Scott's gonna run.
So we're moving on from the
Necrons.
asking me questions.
Yes. I'll probably be running Tyranids for a while. Although I'm interested in a lot of different armies, so I'll probably be doing the different ones. Of the things you guys have heard, what are you two interested in? Cody said he's definitely going to be in the Imperium somewhere.
If I would play.
You fucking imp.
I mean, you can look at the models and see if there's anything that really catches your eye where you're like, yeah, I would like to potentially maybe.
Look, Kyle, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you're very passionate, and I'm not gonna knock you for liking this stuff, but there are only so many things that I can like.
I understand that.
There are only so many uncool things that I can.
The man has an ungodly
already,
gamer score. What do you expect of him, Kyle?
I'm already teaching myself Elvish from Lord of the Rings. I can't do any more.
Do you try to counter the uncool things with cool things?
I go rock climbing. And I'm learning guitar.
Yeah, I was gonna say the other day you were playing a guitar in my ear.
Yep. So I try to balance it out, but I don't think I can put anything on the scales to balance out playing Warhammer 40K.
Think about it this way: you're gonna be downgrading out of the DM spot soon. And like true. That's like you know what's nerdier than being a DM player? Or,
Oops.
You know what's nerdier than being a D&D player?
Being the DM.
Yep.
That's a good point.
You'll have a whole lot of room for stuff to fill in.
Don't you fucking leave me on this.
Now you don't have to be a nerd about the world you're building.
Since Cody refuses to answer, John, did you have anything?
I mean, the answer was Space Marines.
Okay. Space Marine. Okay, so I have all those Space Marine files for the good reason then.
My biggest issue with Space Marines, and Kyle's talked about this, I don't think in the podcast he didn't mention it really, but him and I go back and forth about this pretty often, where there's only so many times you can print a guy in blue armor and have me be impressed about it.
Right. That is part of the problem I have with Chaos as in general, is there's already so many Space Marines. I don't need 5 more armies of just dude in tin can. I don't care what god he worships.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Space Marines is a pretty good beginner faction for someone who's just like, I just want to have whatever and throw it on the table. They're pretty good for that. Anything catch your eye besides what you already said?
So, I don't even remember what I said. I originally was going to just sit with orcs and move on with my life.
Uh-huh.
But I hate being the same faction as Chris.
Who doesn't?
So I guess I'm actually leaning towards either the Chouse Demons or maybe the Chouse Knights.
Okay, so the problem with Chaos Knights and with Imperial Knights.
Here's why you're wrong, John.
No, he can have them.
No, it's okay. I'm used to this.
He can have them. They're great. I just would suggest a backup army with the Knights because they are very, very one note. Either one of them. You have like 2 models that you're going to be playing with.
Okay. And what is the problem with the demons?
They're just bad right now. That's fine. You can.
Yeah,
work with
Cody,
them.
Let's go fucking learn something cool.
I have a question, John.
I'm done with this podcast.
Is the reason that you
Sign
are
us off, Chris.
is the reason you're leaning toward Chouse because we actively held disdain for it?
What?
He's asking if you were leaning towards Chaos
Chouse.
because we don't like it.
No.
You are a bit of a contrarian like that sometimes.
Maybe. I don't know if I like
Don't get me wrong, demons are interesting.
purposely step
and
towards
if you
it.
want to do that, I will wholeheartedly support it because they are awesome models. I'm just saying, mechanically, they're not in a good spot right now.
I think no matter what I ever do in my life, any game I play with you guys, I tend to be the worst at it. And I'm very competitive in that fashion. So, like, why not just embrace it, you know?
That's fair.
What about Rocket League?
I'm all for it if that's what you want. They're certainly not the worst.
Cody and
armor.
Kyle are getting up there.
I'm still
You're
awful.
easily like second or third place.
You see?
I'm always last.
Can
in
you
video
believe
games.
that? Can you believe that?
I know. In video games with the controllers, yeah.
So, okay.
You got me beating anything with intellect.
I don't know, man.
I'll start
I'm not. This
looking
isn't
for-
the
I'll start looking for
shit on Chris
demons.
hour all of a sudden, but I'm gonna shit on Chris for a second. I really don't think you just don't have the mind for a game where you can think about something.
The orcs are great
For
for
Chris.
that. You can just unga bunga up the board and win.
Because,
Exactly.
like, you talk about how much you love card games, and I know you do. I know you love card games, but man, like, it is infuriating beyond belief to watch you play a card game when I'm not in control.
Is it as infuriating to watch me play a card game?
No,
when
because
you're
I
out
can
of
tell
control?
you're actually thinking about the play.
Get fucked, Chris. You know the difference between me and you is I gotta think about what 1 + 1 equals.
What is it?
Okay.
We're in a podcast where there's no video. You're supposed to say the fucking answer.
No, I was
Chris.
hoping you would say how many fingers I was holding up.
Great. Now we're getting to that point where somebody's gonna yell at us for being idiots. We're not funny.
What a bunch
right.
of fucking idiots.
This is why we have Scott.
We might want to lean into the fantasy side of the game. If you want to do demons, because demons are really good for the fantasy side of the game.
They have a Cockney accent.
They do not.
You can have whatever accent you want, big boy.
They-
Ooh.
You can do whatever you want. That if you're gonna be a Slaneshi demon,
It's
yeah,
almost
sure.
worse that he said that in my ear.
So maybe we'll look into that. Okay, I know the files I got to go look for everyone now. So I'm happy on that front.
Great. Does that mean we can stop talking about this?
Yeah, like let's talk about something else.
No,
for
I'd
like
rather
10
end the
minutes.
podcast.
You'd rather just end the podcast.
There we go.
All
Yeah, I
right.
have some scary games to play with Chris.
Okay, that's true.
And you're gonna love them.
I gotta go home and do my fucking.
I'm gonna go home and
benefits.
sleep with my wife.
I just recently watched that
Same.
movie. What a great ending
Fantastic.
line. It really
Fantastic.
is. What a great movie in general.
I didn't get the joke for the longest time.
Oh, yeah. I didn't either.
That he was, like, pretending to be gay the whole time.
He was pretending to be gay. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I love that.
Which, all things considered, that might be a double act that he's putting on there at the
Flames?
end, which makes it even better.
I definitely had a crush on Madeline Kahn as a boy.
Flames?
On the sides of my face.
Fire. On the side of my face.
Hot?
Hot.
Hot? Flames? Anyway, podcast over, huh?
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Send us
Bye.
home, Chris.
Bye. Send us home.
Nope. That was
Oh.
go ahead.
Goodbye, everybody.